They called him Mikey the Moron. Every single day, the laughter echoed across the schoolyard, sharp, cruel, relentless. But what none of those kids realized was that Mikey had been quietly running a long game, one that made every single one of his bullies look like the real fools. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked, or told you're too dumb to fight back, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button, because today, justice isn't just poetic, it's brilliantly calculated. And by the end, you'll never look at the quiet kid the same way again. It was the first day of school for Mr. Lewis, a brand new teacher straight out of university, full of enthusiasm and bright ideas. He walked into his 5th grade classroom ready to make a difference, to inspire young minds, to be that teacher students remembered. But by lunchtime, he noticed something that turned his stomach. At recess, a small group of boys had cornered a thin, quiet kid near the fence. The kid's name was Mikey. His shirt was untucked, his shoes were scuffed, and he had that defeated look. The kind you only get when you've stopped expecting anyone to be kind to you. The other kids were laughing, not the fun kind of laugh, but the mean kind. "Hey, Mikey the Moron," one of them sneered, holding up 2 shiny coins. One big, one small. "Which one do you want today, huh?" Mikey's eyes darted between them. His lips trembled slightly as he reached out and picked the larger coin, the 50-cent piece. The kids erupted in laughter. "See, told you? He always picks the wrong one." Mr. Lewis froze, unsure whether to intervene or observe. What he saw next shocked him. During class later that day, Mr. Lewis couldn't get that scene out of his head. He watched Mikey from his desk, quiet, withdrawn, barely lifting his head. Every time he spoke up, someone would snicker. It wasn't just teasing, it was a daily performance, one where Mikey was the punchline. The next day, the same thing happened. At recess, the group gathered again, the same taunting ritual. "Hey, Mikey the Moron! Want to earn a coin?" Every single time Mikey took the 50-cent piece. Every single time they laughed until they cried. And every single time, Mr. Lewis' frustration grew. After the 3rd day, he couldn't take it anymore. He pulled Mikey aside after class. "Mikey," he said softly, "can I ask you something? Why do you keep choosing the smaller coin?" Mikey looked up, his eyes cautious but calm. "Because it's bigger," he said simply. Mr. Lewis blinked. "You do realize, though, that the dollar coin is worth more, right? You could buy twice as much with it." Mikey looked down at his hands for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I know, sir." The teacher's eyebrows rose. "You know." Mikey's lips curled into the faintest smile. "Yes, sir. But the day I pick the dollar coin is the day they stop giving me money." That one line hit Mr. Lewis like a brick. All this time, Mikey hadn't been the fool. He'd been the strategist. Every afternoon, those boys left recess laughing, thinking they'd outsmarted him. But Mikey, he'd walk home with another 50 cents in his pocket. Day after day, week after week, he had turned their cruelty into his income. Mr. Lewis felt a wave of admiration and guilt. He had assumed Mikey was helpless when in fact, the boy had been quietly turning humiliation into advantage. That weekend, Mr. Lewis couldn't stop thinking about it. How many times do we underestimate someone because of how they look, talk, or act? How many Mikeys do we overlook because we think we're smarter? He decided to wait to observe more, to see how deep Mikey's quiet brilliance really went. The following week, the taunting escalated. The boys had started bringing him more coins, trying to impress each other with how stupid Mikey was. Sometimes they'd even call other kids over to watch. "Hey, come see Mikey pick the wrong one again." But what they didn't notice was how consistent he was. Never flinching, never arguing, never even blushing. He'd smile shyly, take the coin, and walk away. Until one Friday afternoon, Mr. Lewis saw Mikey sitting under a tree, quietly counting coins. There was a small pile beside him, all 50-cent pieces. "Mikey," he said gently, sitting beside him, "you've been doing this a while, haven't you?" Mikey nodded, grinning now. "Since last year, sir?" Mr. Lewis chuckled. "And how much have you made?" Mikey shrugged. "Enough to buy ice cream every day. Sometimes enough to buy toys for my little sister." The teacher stared at him, stunned. This boy had endured ridicule every day, not because he couldn't fight back, but because he chose to let them believe he was weaker. That's when Mr. Lewis had an idea, a way to let Mikey get the last laugh, publicly. Monday morning, the classroom buzzed as the bullies prepared their daily show. "All right, Mikey the Moron, let's see how dumb you are today," one sneered, pulling out a 50-cent coin and a dollar. But before they could start, Mr. Lewis interrupted. "Actually," he said, his tone deceptively casual, "let's make this educational. How about we all watch and see what happens?" The class gathered around, curious. The boy held out both coins. "Come on, Mikey." "Which one?" Mikey, calm as ever, looked at the coins, hesitated, and chose the 50-cent piece. Laughter erupted. The bullies doubled over, clutching their sides. But Mr. Lewis wasn't done. He smiled. "All right, now that we've all had a good laugh, let's do some math." He turned to the blackboard. "Who can tell me how many times Mikey has done this?" The class murmured. "Every day? At least 20 times this month?" Mr. Lewis nodded. "And how much does he get each time?" 50 cents, someone shouted. "So," he said, writing it out, "that's 50 cents a day for 20 days. That's $10. The room grew quieter. "And how many dollars have you given him, Ryan?" he asked the lead bully. Ryan frowned. "A none." Lewis smiled. "Right, because he never picked the dollar coin, which means you've all been paying him for the privilege of thinking you're smarter than him." The laughter died instantly. Mikey just stood there, holding his coin, eyes gleaming with quiet satisfaction. The silence was thick, the kind that only comes when arrogance collapses into shame. That day, the teasing stopped. No one called him Mikey the Moron again. Instead, kids started asking him for advice about math, about chess, even about how to make money the smart way. Missouri. Lewis watched with pride as Mikey finally smiled. A real smile, the kind that says I won without even playing your game. He hadn't needed fists or insults or revenge plots, just patience and quiet brilliance. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or flashy. Sometimes it's a quiet victory, the kind that unfolds while everyone else is too busy laughing to see it coming. Mikey taught his classmates and his teacher a powerful lesson. Never underestimate the person who keeps their head down, because they might just be the one writing the final punchline. If you loved this story of subtle, satisfying revenge, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories where justice takes an unexpected twist. And tell me in the comments, have you ever let someone think they won, just to come out ahead in the end? Your story might be the next one featured here. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the smartest move is pretending to be the fool.